When the headline reads, "Prince William always ready to step up," he's barely able to contain his fury when Kate's involved. It sounds heroic on the surface. It sounds romantic. It sounds like the kind of story that palace publicists and royal correspondents absolutely love: the strong prince, the loyal husband, the man who will not allow anyone to harm his wife. And to be fair, nobody is saying that protecting your spouse is wrong. In fact, it's the bare minimum. But when you look at the story a little more closely, something very uncomfortable starts to emerge, because what this headline really does is highlight how differently women are treated inside that royal machine, and how that difference explains everything about why Harry and Meghan walked away. Prince William is well known for taking no chances when it comes to the privacy and safety of his wife, Kate Middleton. That much is true. Over the years, Kate has been the target of several invasions of privacy, but the biggest and most infamous one happened back in 2012, when topless photos of her were secretly taken while she was on holiday in France and published by Closer magazine. These photos were not taken on a public street. They were taken with long-lens cameras from a distance, aimed at a private villa. In other words, this wasn't paparazzi waiting outside a restaurant. This was surveillance. Robert Jobson, in his book Catherine, the Princess of Wales, describes Prince William's reaction as explosive. According to him, William was barely able to contain his fury. He saw it as a shocking breach of privacy, a violation of his wife's dignity, and something that could not be tolerated. He believed, as Jobson writes, that if anyone overstepped the mark regarding Catherine, it was his duty to step in and protect her. From the very beginning of their relationship, William's stance was clear. He would not tolerate the media crossing the line. Now, pause for a moment and think about how powerful that statement is. He would not tolerate the media crossing the line. That means there is a line. It means there is a boundary. It means there is a standard of treatment below which things become unacceptable. That idea that royal women deserve protection, privacy and dignity is something that sounds incredibly reasonable. It is, in fact, something Harry also believed. And this is where the story starts to get awkward for the palace. Because when Meghan Markle entered the royal world, that same line did not exist for her. Or if it did, nobody bothered to defend it. When Kate's privacy was violated, legal action was immediate. Kate was eventually awarded nearly $100,000 in damages. Prince William even wrote a formal statement to the BBC explaining how shocked and hurt he and Kate were. He talked about how they had gone to France expecting privacy. He talked about how the photos had been taken in a clandestine way. He made it clear that this was wrong, and he was absolutely right. But Meghan Markle also went into that world expecting privacy. She also expected not to be hunted, not to be racially stereotyped, not to have her personal relationships turned into tabloid storylines, not to have her mental health used as clickbait, and not to have her private communications leaked for profit. And yet, when all of that happened, the palace response was not fury. It was silence. That silence is what broke Harry. Harry did not suddenly become rebellious or difficult or disloyal. He became awake. He saw that the institution that claimed to protect women only protected some women. He saw that Kate was shielded by legal teams, PR strategies, and official statements, while Meghan was left exposed. And the irony is painful because the same behaviour is framed in two completely different ways depending on who is doing it. When William is furious about Kate's privacy, it's portrayed as noble. When Harry is furious about Meghan's treatment, it's portrayed as unstable. When William pushes back against the press, he's stepping up. When Harry does it, he's lashing out. That is not a difference in character. That is a difference in how the system chooses to tell the story. Let's talk about that famous letter William wrote after the topless photos were published. In it, he and Kate said they had chosen that villa in France because it was secluded and private. They trusted that their privacy would be respected. They said they were shocked and distressed by the way the photographs were taken. They described it as a breach of their private life. Now, think about Meghan. Meghan couldn't go to her own front door without photographers. She couldn't go to see friends without being followed. She couldn't even write a private letter to her father without it being leaked to the press and printed in newspapers. And when she said it hurt her, when she said it made her feel unsafe, when she said it was affecting her mental health, she was told she was overreacting. That's the difference. Kate's pain was validated. Meghan's pain was questioned. Kate's privacy was defended. Meghan's privacy was treated like a luxury she didn't deserve. And this is why Prince William's fury matters so much in this story, not because he was wrong to feel it, but because it exposes how selective the palace is when it comes to deciding whose feelings matter. The palace went to war for Kate. It let Meghan fight alone. And that's not speculation. That's documented history. Harry himself has talked about how he repeatedly asked for help. He asked for protection. He asked for statements to be issued correcting false stories. He asked for the palace to do for Meghan what it had always done for Kate. And the answer, again and again, was no. So Harry did what William did. In 2012 he got angry. He drew a line. He said, "This is not acceptable." The only difference is that when William did it, he stayed inside the system. When Harry did it, he had to leave the system because the system was the problem. And that's what so many critics still refuse to understand. They say Harry abandoned his family. But what he really did was refuse to abandon his wife. They say Meghan caused division. But what really happened is that Meghan exposed it. The idea that Prince William is some great defender of women because he stood up for Kate would be easier to accept if the same energy had ever been shown for Meghan. But it wasn't, and people notice that. That's why these stories don't land the way the palace thinks they do anymore. People read about William's fury and think, so why wasn't anyone furious when Meghan was being torn apart? People hear about Kate's $100,000 settlement and think, so why did Meghan have to fight for years just to get a newspaper to admit it had violated her rights? People hear about how Kate's topless photos were described as a shocking breach of privacy. And then they remember how Meghan's private letter was printed in full, dissected, mocked and debated as if it were public property. And suddenly the fairy tale cracks. This is why Harry and Meghan's story still resonates so deeply. It's not just about two people leaving a palace. It's about one woman being protected and another being left to drown. And let's be very clear, Kate did nothing wrong. Kate deserved protection. Kate deserved privacy. Kate deserved respect. But so did Meghan. The problem is not that Kate was defended. The problem is that Meghan wasn't. And when Prince William is praised for stepping up for Kate, it forces us to ask why nobody stepped up for Meghan. That question has never been answered. Not honestly. Instead, the narrative was flipped. Harry became the problem. Meghan became the problem. The people who were harmed became the villains. The people who stayed quiet became the heroes. That is classic institutional behaviour. Protect the system. Blame the whistleblower. Harry didn't destroy anything. He revealed it. And that's why his story still makes people uncomfortable, because deep down they know he's right. So the next time you see a headline about William's fury, or his devotion, or his protective instincts, remember this. Harry had the same instincts. He just didn't get applause for it. He got exile. And Meghan? She got her voice back. And that's why, on the Sussex Insights, we will always tell this story for what it really is: not palace propaganda, not tabloid spin, but the truth about love, loyalty, and what happens when one woman is protected and another is sacrificed. If you want more real talk, more honest analysis, and more fearless coverage of Harry and Meghan, make sure you subscribe to the Sussex Insights, support the channel, and stay with us, because the truth is louder than the palace walls.